The information provided by Trading Forex Price Action to you does not constitute personal financial advice. The information provided is of a general nature only and does not take into account your individual objectives, financial situation, or needs. It should not be used, relied upon, or treated as a substitute for specific professional advice.
Weekly Forecast.
Hey guys, this is a weekly forecast for May 31st through June 4th of 2021. Alright, we'll start off with the Euro-USD pair. This is a monthly chart. We'll start off with an overview. Alright, so because of this price action right here being very strong short, and this move still having a ways to go, in the long term, I am short biased right back down to this pivot low right here. However, since there was a breakout of this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here, right at this point right here, in the medium term, I'm long biased right back up to this pivot high right here. But currently on the weekly chart, since there's a little bit more strength short than long, in the short term, I'm short biased right back down to this pivot low right here. Okay, let's talk entries. Okay, this is a weekly chart. Let me show you the setup I've been looking at for the past couple of months. So there was a strong short trade that formed right here. Then a week-long trade formed. So as price pulled back, I was looking for short entries right back down to this pivot low as a target. And the same thing happened again right here. A week-long trade formed. So again, as price pulled back, I was looking for short entries right back down to that new pivot low as a target. And the same thing happened again. So another week-long trade formed. So at this point, I'm letting price pull back so I could take another short right back down to this new pivot low as a target. Alright, so in terms of the entry short for this move down, on my midweek analysis, I explained I took a short trade at this 1.2250 level right here, with a stop loss at this pivot high up here, and its main target being right down here at this pivot low. Okay, so let me explain the reasoning for this short trade I took. So let's go over to the daily chart. Okay, so on this daily chart, the last daily short trade that formed was right here. And in my opinion, this daily short trade already hit its target right at this level right here. And so I was mentioning in previous forecasts that we could expect a medium strength pullback at least to this level right here at this pivot high. Now the reason why I chose this pivot high for this pullback was simply due to this daily short trade already hitting its target. And when trades targets are hit, price typically just pulls right back to stop out the traders that are still in this short trade right here. However, like I showed you on the weekly chart, the last weekly short trade was right here, with its stop loss at its pivot high up here. Now, in my opinion, although this daily short trade's target has been hit, this weekly short trade's target has not been hit yet. Thus, although typically for that weekly short trade, I will wait for another daily or weekly short trade to form so I could take that right back down to our short-term target. In this case, since I entered roughly at the 1.2250 level, the stop loss for that weekly short trade is only 100 pips away. And since it's only 100 pips, I was able to adjust my lot sizes to a risk parameter that I'm comfortable with. And so I took that short trade last week. Now let me explain to you how I'm going to manage this short trade. Okay, so on the lower time frames, I'm always looking for compact long price action, which indicates strong long strength. Now this compact price action's key characteristic are very small widths between each peak. Now if this compact price action forms on the lower time frames, at that point I would abort this short trade. Or if that forms, price is likely to go straight to our medium-term target right at this weekly pivot high right here. Okay, so last night, there was price action that formed that was very close to being a legitimate long compact price action that formed right at this level right here. Alright, and like I always mention, compact price action typically forms on very strong levels. So on this daily chart, try drawing this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here. Now that price action that didn't quite qualify for compact long price action formed right on this trend line right here. So let me show you what that looks like. Let's go over to the 1 minute chart. All right, so that price action I was talking about is right here. And that daily trend line is roughly in this area right here. Now this price action is very close to being legitimate compact price action, for the width between each peak is very small. However, another major characteristic of compact price action is ideally there should be more consolidation in between these pullbacks within this price action. So in my opinion, in this price action, with the peaks being here, 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 and here, these pullback areas do not have enough consolidation for it to be legitimate compact price action. And so at this point, I am not aborting that short trade. However, keep in mind that I'm always keeping an eye on this 1 minute and 5 minute chart to see if there's any compact long price action that forms. Okay, so at this point, in order to prove to me that this price action right here was not legitimate compact price action, is for price to pull right back down to these levels to stop out the pivots that are correlated to this compact price action. Now that pivot could possibly be this pivot right here or this pivot low right here. Now the reason why, if price pulls back and hits these levels right here, proves to me that this compact price action was not legitimate, is because if I were to enter a long trade based on compact price action, my stop loss level will be at its correlated major pivot. Now in this case, it could be this pivot right here or this pivot right here. Okay, all right, let's go back to the weekly chart. All right, so to sum this up, at a basic level, I'm still expecting price to fall right back down to this pivot low right here for the time being. However, if any legitimate compact long price action forms, that will show to me that price will go straight to our medium-term target right up at this pivot high without reaching this pivot low. And thus the short trade that I entered at 1.2250, I would abort immediately. Okay, and if you're having trouble understanding the terms used in this lesson, please watch my price action trading course, for that course is designed to provide you the knowledge necessary to understand these forecasts. Okay, let's go on to the pound dollar. Alright, this is a monthly chart. We'll start off with an overview. Okay, so because this double bottom here is weak, and since weak double bottoms typically do not go its target height, generally in this level right here, in the long term, I am short biased right back down to this pivot low right here. However, since this weak double bottom has a little bit more strength long left in its move, in the medium term, I am long biased right back up to this pivot high right here. However, on the weekly chart, since there's a little bit more strength down left in this move, in the short term, I am short biased right back down to this pivot low right here. Okay, let's talk entries. Okay, this is a weekly chart. Let me show you the setup I've been looking at for the past couple of months. So there was a strong short trade right here, then a weak long trade formed right here. So as price pulled back, I was looking for short trades right back down to this pivot low right here, and that target has been hit. Now at this point, I'm waiting for another weekly long trade to form so I could gauge its strength, and if this weekly long trade is stronger than this last short trade, then that's along with my medium term bias, so I'll be looking for long trades right back up to this pivot high right here. However, if this long trade is weaker than this last short trade, then again I'll be waiting for a pullback up so I could take a short right back down to this new pivot low as a target. Okay, so this is still the setup I'm expecting to happen. So based on this idea, I've been taking multiple short trades for the past couple of weeks with the stop loss at this pivot high right here, and its first target right here, and its main target down here. Alright, so let me show you how I'm managing these intraday short trades. So let's go over to the daily chart. Okay, so 2 weeks ago, there were 2 intraday short trades that I took that I mentioned. One was at this 1.4170 level, and another short entry was at this 1.4220 level. Now both these trades stop losses were at this pivot high right here, with its first target at this pivot low right here, and its aggressive target being down here. However, like I mentioned, due to a 4-hour fake double top that formed. I was mentioning I already took out 90% of both of these positions roughly at this level right here, expecting another pullback so I could take another short entry with the same stop loss parameters right up here. Alright, so last week I took another short intraday trade roughly at this 1.4175 level. So let me go ahead and explain that to you on the 4-hour chart. Alright, so on this 4-hour chart, that fake double top I was talking about formed right here. And that's why I aborted 90% of both those earlier intraday short trades. Now the reason why I aborted those trades is because I expected another pullback, possibly right up to this pivot high, because these fake double tops create short-term long strength. However, during last week, a lot of short-term short pressure was forming also, so let me explain that to you real quick. Alright, so the last short trade on this 4-hour chart that formed was right here. And the last long trade was right here. Now this long trade was much stronger than this short trade. And then another short trade formed last week. And again, this long trade was stronger than this short trade. However, price still came down and stopped out this long trade stop loss level right here. So when a strong long trade is still stopped out, that tells me that there's a lot of short-term short pressure. Thus, I saw the possibility that we may not get the pullback right up to this pivot high right here. And so I entered another short trade last week, roughly at this 1.4175 level. Again, this stop loss is roughly at the 1.4240 level, so it's about a 70 pip stop loss. So from this point on, what I'm looking for in terms of trade management is to be constantly watching for long compact price action. So let me explain that on the weekly chart. So what I'm constantly looking out for is for any compact long price action to form on the lower time frames, which indicates strong long strength. For if this kind of compact long price action forms, it is likely that price will go straight up to our medium term target right at this pivot high right here. However, for the time being, this price action did not form yet, so I'm willing to stay in those intraday short trades I've been telling you about, with a stop loss right at this pivot high, and its first target being right here, and its main target being down here, for the time being. Okay, so let's go on to the Aussie NZD pair. Alright, this is the monthly chart. We'll start off with an overview. Alright, so since there was a normal double bottom right here, against a weak downward trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here, in the long term, I was long biased right up to this trend line right here, and its main target being at this pivot high right here. And that first target has been hit. However, due to price action on the weekly chart being strong short right up to at least this pivot low right here, and also because I'm only willing to take trades with the long-term bias, in the short term, I am neutral biased. Alright, let's talk entries. Alright, this is a weekly chart. Let me run you by what's been happening on this pair for the past couple of months. So the last long trade on this weekly chart was right here, with the stop loss being right here. And at this point right here, price hit our first long-term target at that monthly downward trend line to get to our main long-term target, which is at this pivot high right here, however failed. Then price came down right here, and at this point right here, again on the lower time frames, price tried to push through right up to our main target again. However, this attempt also failed. Now if you recall, I've been mentioning that at this point, if price even touches this pivot low right here, there's a high probability that price will break down right back down to this weekly pivot low right here. Now let me go ahead and explain to you why price will break down if price hit this level right here. So let's go over to the daily chart. Alright, so on this daily chart, that weekly long trade I explained earlier is right here, with the stop loss being at this pivot low right here. Now price came up to hit that monthly first target right at these levels right here, and failed to get through that downward trend line on this attempt, and furthermore on this attempt also. Now typically, if this weekly long trade had not hit its target, a strong daily long trade such as this, typically price will reach at least that first downward trend line target, with the stop loss for this daily long trade being right here at its pivot low. Now, the only reason that this strong long trade would fail is if a higher time frame's trade's target has already been hit. Because when trades targets are hit, typically price just pulls right back down to stop out the traders that are still in this long trade, with the stop loss being at this pivot low right here. Thus, that's the reason why I was mentioning if this pivot low right here, which is the daily long trade stop loss level, is even touched, price will likely break down first to this pivot right here and possibly down to this pivot right here. So at this point on this pair, I'm only looking for trades long, for that's along with my long-term bias. So let me show you what I'm looking at over at the weekly chart. Okay, so on this weekly chart, there's two options that I would consider taking it long. One option is for a weekly long trade to form. Now it has to be on the weekly chart and cannot be on any time frame under the weekly, for this move down is based on the weekly long trade's target already been hit. So again, if the weekly chart could form a strong long trade, I will consider taking the long right up to our long-term second target, right up at this pivot high. And the other option is for price to pull right back down to stop out the weekly long trader's stop loss level, which is at this level right here, and then form either a weekly or, in this case, even a daily strong long trade. For the strength down in this move should only last up until this pivot low right here. Okay, so either way for this pair, it's going to take a while for either of these possible setups to form. Okay, that's it for this week's weekly forecast. I hope you guys have a great week, guys. And thanks for watching. Okay, bye.